Cardigan Welsh Corgi is named for an area in Wales from where they originated, in Cardiganshire, a maritime province off the coast of mid-Wales. Welsh author Lloyd Thomas described the original true Cardigan as the Bronnet-type Corgi. Bronnet is a quiet village lying in the heart of the Cardiganshire hills, unique in Welsh canine history, where Mr. Thomas says, until the mid-1800s, no dog but the Cardigan Corgi was found. The original Corgi succeeded in his job as a drover because of his design. With his low, stocky build, deep chest, outbent feet, strong skull and weighty tail, cushiony feet, he could physically work the cattle. The early Cardigans were far from what we see today. Cardigans were primarily used on small Welsh black cattle at a time when the land was common ground. Initially, they were to go before the cattle to clear the way of wild animals and to be an advanced guard. These drovers of livestock worked the rough, hilly terrain of Wales, both dispersing the herd on unfenced common lands and driving the cattle to market. The droving of cattle in England became firmly established in the 15th century. Roads were created based on these drovers' routes and would have a lasting effect on Welsh topography. Cardigans did not herd the cattle. Instead, they would nip the heels and drive them a far field as the crofters desired them to go. Cardigans needed to be tough to go back in after cattle, and they had to be responsive to their owners. They proved to be tough workers, and with their courage and tenacity, they were swift and they were obedient. Cardigans would turn on their heel, on their shoulders, and roll out of the way to avoid, oops, I'm so sorry. They would nip at the heels of the cattle and then would roll out of the way and not get hurt or injured. Cardigans had to be able to go work the stock in harsh weather and the terrain, and they required work that would give them quick energy. They needed to have quick energy and bursts of speed, turning quick on a dime, with very quick reflexes, and avoid being hurt. A good working Corgi guaranteed the farmer lots of grazing land for his cattle, allowing the farmer to maintain a large head of stock and in turn earn a good income. The Cardigan was a general purpose dog, comfortable in the fields or by the hearth and with the family. He drove off intruders, and he was settling in the family as a member and comfortable at home. The original Corgi was a valuable asset that he brought the dog in at night, where he sat fireside and became a family companion and guarding the home. Women and children were kept safe when wandering vagrants roamed the area. By 1875, the Crown lands were divided and fenced, and the Corgi had to adapt to the change. There was no need for a Corgi to send off neighboring cattle, and less need for drovers, but the herding dogs were needed. The original Corgi was unable to bring his herd together because he was a straight running courser. The Cardigan lacked rounding up instincts, making them different from other herding dogs. He couldn't be trained to do this, so herding blood was sought. By the turn of the century, the outlook for the survival of the Bronnet Corgi was very bleak. He was facing extinction, but by crossing the Corgi, the farmer would be able to continue on with the breed. The crofter turned to two herding dogs at the time, a small red cattle herder and a brindle herder. The red herder was similar to the original Corgi in body shape, but he was long, he was light-boned, he had narrow muzzle though, and he had stiffly erect ears. Also, he had a sharp temperament. He was overstrung, abnormally suspicious dog, snappish, and a dog difficult to live with. And the brindle herder also was used, brought in more herding instincts, but his temperament was more like the Corgi. These are pictures of earlier Corgis. By 1929, we have more of an influence of what we wanted to see. As you see, they have more leg on them from today than what we like. I'm sorry. All right. I don't usually use these. Hello. All right. From about 1929 to 1934, the Cardigan UK Club, the Kennel Club, had them shown as one breed. By the 1930s, we see a longer legged dog and a thinner boned dog. It wasn't until 1930s that the Cardigan Corgi made its way to America. While visiting friends in Wales, Roberta Ball fell in love with these captivating little dogs. She brought back the first pair in 1931, and we have a lot of history on that section of our breed in our website. Megan was the first American champion and American bred champion, Cardigan Corgi. Our annual competition, the Megan competition, is named after her. By 1934, the Kennel Club once again separated the breeds, and the Cardigan was put into the non-sporting group. 1935, the National CWCCA Club was formed as a member club of the AKC. Queen Elizabeth made the Pembroke a more popular breed, and the Cardigan remained a dog of the country farm. Their owners did not have the influence or the available cash or time to exhibit, so they became more of a quiet cousin. By 1970s, the breed was well on to making their presence known in the show ring. The short little dog stood tall in competition with outstanding temperament. 1973, as you see, we earned our first Best in Show. July of 2005, we were very happy that we were able to change our name. We joined forces with the Pembroke Club of America, and we changed our name from Welsh Corgi Cardigan to Cardigan Welsh Corgi. Our breed standard stresses temperament. Judges and breeders must fault shy, timid, or aggressive temperament. The temperament of the red herder has influenced our gene pool greatly, and we can see this temperament even today, but we strive to maintain the original Bonnet temperament. We're a clownish breed, an adaptable breed with a willing to please attitude. Generally, they would do anything we ask of them, and then some, because they are so trusting and devoted companions. This trait may lead them into trouble when it's carried over into the show ring. This is a herding breed with quick reflexes. When working livestock, swinging to and fro with every movement, they were tuned into what was going on around them. This is in the show ring. You may see some of this. They are a sound, sensitive breed, as most herding dogs. They avoided injury because their large ears could be hurt. They would hear a swish of a cow and avoid getting injured. In the show ring, they may react with a banging of a crate slammed down on the floor. They may flatten to the ground, but then they should recover. They should get up and stand firm and come out of it. Don't fault this. This is a herding Corgi instinctual behavior. When working with cattle on the rough terrain, they were keenly aware of their footing. It's the same keen eyesight that makes them jump on a carpeted floor in a ballroom at a national specialty, or jumping over the mats being taped. They're tuned in with their eyes. From their original purpose and breed and origin, they were bold and fearless, and with their quick thinking reacted to what was around them. A shy, scared, or spooked dog would not be selected either for work or as a companion or for further breeding by the early farmers. This was the foundation of our breed. Today, the Corgi maintains its presence not only in the conformation show ring with consistent best in show wins and rankings in the top 10 in the herding group, but also in the various performance and herding events as well. With their attitude and willingness to please and love for people, it's not surprising that they also excel in therapy work. Now, to understand the Cardigan Welsh Corgi and the structure, we must understand that the Cardigan is one of many breeds called an achondroplastic breed. Achondroplasia, or dwarfism, is defined as the form of a genetic dwarfism specifically characterized by arrested development of the long bones. Many Cardigans are lacking in their essential characteristic of dwarfism. These traits must be rewarded in the ring as a priority for breed type. We are losing our dwarf tendencies, and judges must reward those who truly show those dwarf characteristics. A correct chondroplastic dwarfed front is not an ugly front, and it is essential to this breed. Cardigans with straight fronts and squared off croups are unsound and not typey. The Cardigan is not an easily understood breed, but by observing other long, low dwarf breeds such as Basset Hounds, Dachshunds, and others, we do learn similarities. In humans, we have midgets and dwarfs. Midgets are a diminutive version or miniaturized version of something. A toy poodle such as being a miniature to a standard poodle. Dwarfism is the dog maintains different points, which we are going to get into. Hello? The shortened length of the bones are shortened. As a result, the chest is dropped between the legs. These dwarf breeds have many traits in common, yet their standards reflect differences as well in the wording and the amount of turnout in the front and the feet. Amount of turnout is related to the depth of the chest and the breadth and width of the chest and rib cage. Greater spring of rib also means that the forearms of the Cardigan must curve around a greater width of the shoulder, and this necessitates a slight turn of the foot in order to maintain balance. Nobody said we couldn't have a little fun. Look at the two Basset Hound fronts. It's clear that the one on the left is correct, while the one on the right is not, and does not have a wraparound or support that deep chest. We don't accept this front in the Basset Hound, nor should you accept it in a Cardigan. It is quite apparent that the Cardigan, like the Basset and the Dachshund, has Tekel ancestry, and also has a Hound influence. The Pembroke, while similar to the Cardigan, is heavily influenced by the Spitz family. Okay. All right. I think you can see how houndy we really are. The Swedish Drever dog, aside from the legs, the outline is quite similar to the brindle dog on top. We have more hounded features, more rounded, as compared to the Spitz, we're more pointed featured. We are always compared to the Pembroke, but we do have several differences. The Pembroke reflects a sense of the Spitz influence, and the Cardigan is the Hound. There are subtle differences in the head. The breeds should both have a head that is foxy in shape and appearance, but the Cardigan has an added breed characteristic, that of a doming above the eyes. This doming gives the Cardigan a trifle more stop, whereas the Pembroke is more moderate. The German Shepherd Standard stresses curves rather than angles. They say if they dropped a bead of oil on the head of a German Shepherd, it would run smoothly, curving down the neck, across the top of the back, and down the croup to the tail. I'm not saying we have the same outline as a German Shepherd. I'm saying that we have similar in the sloping of the smoothes and the curves. In the earlier shows, the Cardigan was referred to as an Alsatian on short legs. General appearance. Here we see a dog that is low set, low to the ground. What we want to see is long and low. And I won't read for you. I know you can read, so I'll just pause. When looking at a Cardigan, you should see curves, soft flowing lines. Stand back and look at the lineup and see a long, low dog, and curve should be your first impression. We are not blocky, squared off, or pointed, either generally or in the head, throughout the body, to the rear. Soft flowing curves make a cardigan type. Just as there is a correct outline along the top, there is a correct outline along the bottom. The cardigan has a distinctive prosternum. A line flows downward toward the bottom of the chest, and the deepest part of the chest should be between the front legs, not behind the elbow, and with a moderate tuck-up and a waist well defined. From the head, we want to see an elegant neck curving into a level top line and on a strong back with a curving slope of the croup and a long tail flowing behind. There should be a deep prosternum curving with a prominent prosternum and a curve in the tuck-up of the loin. The length of the loin is strong and short and moderately tucked up. The length of the dog is coming from the rib cage, from a long rib and a deep chest, and not in the loin. We want a short loin. Some lines have correct length, but the length is coming from the loin, and this is incorrect and should be penalized. Often the dogs appear to have great length, but the length comes from the loin, and that is wrong. Breed type demands a short loin and a long rib. Cardigans are tending to lose their dachshund features, become too shallow in the chest and high on leg. Dachshund type features are essential for true breed type and are shown by lowness, length of body, a deep full brisket well let down between the legs, a keel-shaped front of chest, front legs similar to a dachshund with a wraparound, good spring of rib, and a definite waistline. When viewed from above, the widest point of the dog is the shoulders, tapering to a definite waist, and then flaring to a well-developed hips, which are slightly narrower than the shoulders. Some dogs' bodies extend straight back to the pelvis, and they're usually shelly or lack rib or too fat. They're both incorrect. You want to see an obvious waistline coming from that short loin and the moderate tuck-up. The body outline viewed from above is a clue to the correct front on the cardigan as well. When you look down on the cardigan's body, his shoulders should be broader than his rear, as opposed to the Pembroke, who has a more bullet-shaped body due to less spring of rib, and it gives the Pembroke a more straighter pointing foot. Greater spring rib is what gives the cardigan his hourglass shape. Here we have Mrs. Bones. We talk about our lengths and our proportions. We want a proportion of 1.8 to 1 when measuring from the point of the breastbone, the prosternum, to the rear of the hip, which is the ischial tuberosity, and measuring from the ground to the point of the withers. It's just not quite 2 to 1. We don't say 2 to 1. 2 to 1 would be more a Skye Terrier proportions. They're a little longer. We're just 1.8 to 1. And credit to these skeletal views and the views on the wall we put up can be found on the CCI website, which the JEC highly recommends for anyone wanting to learning to evaluate the cardigan. The prosternum should be only slightly lower than a point midway between the throat and the lower part of the brisket. Again, shown here on the skeleton, the proper placement is the prosternum is slightly lower than the point midway between the throat and the lower part of the brisket. And as you see here, we can also tell that the deepest part of the chest is between the front legs, not behind the elbow, and we see a moderate tuck up and a waist clearly formed. When examining the cardigan, you should be able to just put your hand right in there and fit it right in your hand. We can see the dog on the top lacks prosternum, obviously, The one on the bottom has a nice prosternum. You can put your hand right there and feel it. A deep brisket is needed to allow a good heart and lung capacity in order to endure working in the hills of Wales. The Cardigan, being a dwarf dog, is low to the ground and makes room for his lungs by being as deep as functionally possible and with good spring of rib. These shoulders slope down and out from the withers to accommodate this. This veteran bitch here has correct breed type. I'll let you glance over the problems we are seeing in the breed today. You will recognize the dog with an incorrect brisket. You don't see a point of prosternum. The front end is flattened, making him look somewhat like this steer. Obviously, faults here on our general appearance. These are also in your illustrated standard. Common faults we see in the ring today. The shoulder blade is long and well laid back, meeting the arm of the humerus at a close right angle. We want it laid back approximately 45 degrees, and the humerus should be as long as the scapula. Now, on first appearance, this looks like a lovely dog with a correct outline, relatively curvy and sloping back into a nice croup. However, he has a common fault we do see in the ring today. He sets over himself, appears to have too much forward chest. The shoulder is straight. The forearm is overangulated. He appears stuffy in the neck, very short in the neck, and his chest appears out of balance and too far forward. More shoulder faults, straight upper arm, upright shoulders, short upper arm. Very, very common in the breed. We're trying to overcome this. It's a long road. It is a common fault in many, many breeds. The croup should slope, the neck should be moderate and long, muscular, without any throatiness. Well developed, especially in the males, and in proportion to the build. Top line is level here. Body is long and strong. The croup should slope slightly downwards. Any dogs high in the rear and bouncing top lines are faulted. I'll let you read the sizes of dogs and bitches. Overall balance should be more important than absolute size. When evaluating the front assembly, it's a two-part feature. You want to be able to see the dog from the front view and from the side view as well. Some dogs on a silhouette view look very appealing and impressive, and when you come right around and look at the front from the head-on view, you'll find that they're wide, or the crook is incorrect, or they have other problems going on. So evaluate the dog from the two views. Because of the curve of the forearm and the wrists will appear closer together than the shoulders. The feet are relatively large and rounded. The front is not a straight line from the elbows to the ground. The radius and the ulnar of the Cardigan are not straight. You want to see the upper arm curving around that deep chest as if you would see an egg sitting and nesting in an egg cup. You shouldn't see Cardigan's armpits, I always say. You want them to be nicely tucked. That upper arm, can you hear me? It doesn't feel like it's working. Yeah, okay. You want them sitting, right, that upper arm just hugs and supports that chest. They shouldn't be wide and drooping. This is a lovely assembly. The outward point of the turnout of the foot should not be more than 30 degrees from the center line when viewed from above. And what do we mean by that? 30-degree maximum. What we mean is, imagine that face of a clock. When looking at the top of the dog's head, the feet will point at 11 and 1 o'clock. That is the maximum, anywhere up to 30 degrees. You think that was easy getting that dog standing on his head? It wasn't. The Cardigan needed a heavy, well-cushioned and rounded foot working the hills. You can understand when you look at the topography of Wales. The proper foot assembly supported the leg assembly, and in turn supported the chest. This feet, the breed trait is being slowly lost. Those cushiony, strong, well-rounded, heavy feet. Please reward them when you see them in the ring. This obviously is an incorrect foot. The correct Cardigan front is neither straight nor so crooked as to appear unsound. Overall, the bone should be heavy for the dog of the size, but not so heavy as to appear coarse and clumsy. The radius of the ulna curves and supports this heavy chest. These are all correct fronts, good assemblies. Some serious faults we have in the fronts, and they're very obvious. Judges are rewarding fronts like this, and we need to tighten up on this. This is incorrect. These fronts are not wide, they're not straight. We want to see a rounded of the chest, hugging that chest and supporting and protecting it. Obviously, the dog on the left is incorrect. Compare the fronts on these 2 6-month puppies. Obviously, the one on the left is lacking in wrap, and this other puppy has a little bit wrap. They're young yet, but the structure is there. Cardigans are a slow maturing breed. This is the same dog at various stages, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and 2 years. Many of our national best of breed winners do come from the veterans class. We just mature and body up and look better and better as we get older. One-third of our standard is devoted to the description of the Cardigan head. Cardigan head is one of the distinguishing hallmarks of the breed. The heads should be proportional for the sex. Dogs obviously should look like a male, and bitches should look very feminine. The cheeks are flat with some chiseling where the cheek meets the foreface and under the eye. These pictures also show good Cardigan expression. In profile, we want a 3:5 proportion, muzzle to skull. The plane should be parallel with a definite but moderate stop. There should be a prominent eyebrow ridge, and the muzzle should be rounded, not blunt, tapered but not pointed. We want the cheeks flat, as I said, with a chiseling, where the cheek meets the foreface and under the eye. Jaws are strong and clean. Underjaw is moderate deep. Teeth are strong and regular. Scissors bite is preferred. There are subtle differences in the head when comparing to the Pembroke. Again, the Pem should be, they're both foxy, but the Pembroke lacks that doming over the eyes. The Cardigan has a trifle more stop, and the Pembroke stop is a little more moderate. Note the planes on this lovely male head. He has a correct underjaw as well. This is a lovely head. A flat skull was needed to avoid an injury on the head, to avoid the kick of a cow. The eyes are medium, largely wide set. Blue eyes are permissible in blue merles. Any other color is a disqualification. The nose should be black, except in blue merles. And any nose color other than black is a disqualification. We'll get into the colors later on. The ears of the head should be in accordance with the sex and the substance of the dog and the head. They should never appear so large or heavy or so small or fine as to be out of balance with the dog. When erect, tips are slightly wide of a straight line drawn from the tip of the nose through the center of the eye. They are moderately wide at the base, carried erect and sloping forwards when alert. Puppies often carry their ears wider than adults. Obviously, small or pointed ears are serious faults, and these are also covered in the illustrated standard. Drop ears are a disqualification. Ear carriage in motion. This is acceptable ear carriage when the dog is gaiting. One or both ears may be laid back. We have had judges fault dogs because they didn't gait with the ears like this. That is totally incorrect. A dog is moving, they're using the ears, and they're animated. The hindquarters should have moderate angulation at the stifle. Hocks are well let down. The hindquarters should denote sufficient power to propel this low, relatively medium to heavy herding dog efficiently over rough terrain. The hip bone slopes downward with the croup, forming a right angle with the femur and the hip socket. Slight downward slope of the croup is necessary for correct tail carriage and tail set, and it indicates the pelvic angle. If the angle of the pelvis is incorrect, it will be associated with incorrect movement and spoil the outline of the dog. A strong driving rear is of major importance to a herding dog. Overly wide rears are incorrect and may produce a rocking gait, and narrow rears are also incorrect. Notice the slight slope to the croup here. These Cardigans have croups that are too flat, a problem in the breed today. See how similar their croups are to that of the Pembroke. The Cardigan from Hound Teckle origins wants long, flowing, soft curves that make up its unique outline. Tail set fairly is low on the body line and reaches well below the hock. We want it carried low when standing or moving slowly and streaming out parallel to the ground when at a dead run. Lifted when excited, but never curled over the back. A high tail set is a serious fault. But tail set is much more important than tail carriage. Judges must distinguish between a high tail set and a high tail carriage. You must put your hands on the dog to properly figure this out. Reasons for a high tail carriage can be from a high tail set, or just a happy dog, or bitches being bitchy, or boys being boys. This tri-bitch here in the lower right, lower left has a high set tail and a high carried tail. The red male, the tail set is too high on a flatter croup. The one in the upper left corner is correct. In movement, we want to see a dog well reaching forward in front and driving well behind and rear well extended. The tail set on this dog here is correct, flowing behind. Note this croup here and the tail set and how the ears are carried while in motion. Cardigans can move. On the move, the cardigan should extend well beyond the vertical in the rear and have good reach in front. Cardigans should move with a full step and move forward on the vertical. Choppy movement or short strides are usually a result in conformation faults. Note the croup and the tail set, how the ears are carried while in motion again. Correct movement is effortless. We're hoping to be able to insert a video for movement, so we're working on this. The Cardigan is a functional herding dog. Lack of balance, front or rear movement is undesirable. Here we compare it to the skeleton in motion. When viewed from the front, legs do not move in exact parallel planes, but incline slightly inward to compensate for the shortness of the leg and width of the chest. Feet must travel parallel to the line of motion, and with no tendency to swing out, cross over, or interfere with each other. Because of the short legs, the Cardigan cannot single track. As these pictures clearly show, the Cardigan's legs tend toward the center line. Rear movement is powerful and driving with good rear extension. Trotting should reach well under the body in one continuous motion. Drive powerfully behind, well beyond the set of the tail. And the Judges Ed Committee would like to thank club member Kathleen Carter for these animations. They're also appearing on the CCI website. Obvious faulty rears. We saw that dog today. Okay. Yes, we did. Also, the dog you can would be not driving well behind and as well. I'm going to go right into coat unless anybody has any questions, or we should just do them in the end. I could handle that. We could put lights on. That would be fine. Okay, coat. The correct coat is a medium length, water-resistant double coat, and provides a soft undercoat for insulation and a harsher outer coat to repel the elements of nature when working in the muddy, inclement weather of Wales. The correct coat allowed the Corgi to shake the dirt free when brought indoors. Outer hairs are slightly harsh in texture, never wiry, curly, or silky, and it lies smooth, and most importantly, it should be weather resistant. Seasonal lack of undercoat should not be too severely penalized as long as the hair is healthy. We also want to see a longer hair on the backs of the thighs, the form pants. The coat may be slightly longer and thicker in the rough. The coat may appear to alter the top line. Run your hand over the length of the back to determine if what you see is a ruff over the shoulders. As in this bitch here, you can see the top line doesn't look level, but it is coat. Obviously faults here in the Cardigan, soft guard hairs, wiry, silky. We are seeing more incorrect coats coming into the ring. Lights are coming on. I don't need them now. Not yet, no. Not yet. When we get into lit color, I'll high five you. Sorry. We are seeing more incorrect, soft, and somewhat longer coats in the ring, and they should be faulted. They are not a weather-resistant proper coat. And I'm told there are dogs being trimmed in the ring today. Please do not reward this either. You can tell if a dog is trimmed if it has that sculptured look and not the flowing flow of coat. Those guilty are usually novices or those professional handlers. The standard is quite clear on trimming. Trimming is not allowed except to tidy the feet and, if desired, remove whiskers. We will examine some coats later on the hands-on section. We are a breed of many colors, some of which are not acceptable. There is no preference among the colors. Acceptable colors are all shades of red, sable, brindle, and there are various shades of brindle: red brindle, brown brindle, black brindles, various degrees of patterning. Black brindles and black brindles are brindles that are very dark and black, but some brindling throughout the whole body. And we have black and whites with brindle points, the points being restricted to the areas of the cheeks, the inside the ear, around the rear, along the inner thigh. And the points can range from minimally expressed, that the dog should appear that it's black and white, or quite vividly colored as the dog in the center. And we have black and white with tan points, which also range from light tan, light lemon, pointing area to rich, vivid, coppery points on the cheeks and the ears and so on. We have blue merles and whites, again, the pointing areas from strongly expressed to minimally expressed. And we have blue merles with tan, vivid points. Blue merles may darken as they age. They're born very light. The dog in the center is the young puppy, 6 months or so, and the veteran papa is the dog in the front. He's very dark, and the others are of various ages in between. We also have some colors in the ring that you may be unfamiliar with. We do have a blue merle with tan points that in many breeds is referred to as a cryptic merle. It appears to have a lot more black on it than merling, but you could find some minimally traces of merling throughout the head or the ears. We have a blue merle with a red undercoat. That is not incorrect. When the dog sheds its coat, it will shed out the undercoat. And above we have a color that is a chinchilla, and they are shown as reds. They will have black noses. Blue merles may have both eyes blue, both eyes brown, one of each, or a fleck or a spot of a blue in the eye. All are correct, and there is no preference. Reds are often incorrectly faulted for looking pemmy. Cardigans can be too pemmy regardless of the color of the coat. As we can see here in this tricolor on the upper left, pointed features, a smaller ear. On the right, we have a Pembroke, a correct Pembroke. It is not a color-related problem. We have Pemmy-looking blues and we have Pemmy-looking brindles. It is a breed type fault, regardless what the color. Look for breed type. Look past the color to see the type. This is a lovely, typey, red Cardigan female. Lovely red, typey male. This is a Pembroke, obviously. And what do we feel about this one? Anybody? Thank you. You're cheating, John. Yes, this is a Swedish Pembroke with a tail. And obviously, it's a Pembroke. Look at the head features. I'll let you read over the serious faults as stipulated in our standard. We come to the disqualifications. There are 5 disqualifications in the Cardigan Welsh Corgi standard. 4 pertain to color, and 1 pertains to the ears. The following slides are of colors not currently recognized as acceptable. Generally speaking, people are not showing them in the ring, but you should be aware and recognize them. First, we have a non-merle cardigan with blue eyes. This one, a normal brindle with the blue eye factor that is not related to the merle gene. Here we have the bitch that really and truly started it all in the 70s, Cinnamon Bonbon. She's a lovely breed type. She looks lovely, but she is a color that is unacceptable to our breed standard now. It was because of her, there was a fury in the breed, and we changed our standard and stipulated the colors. Brindle merles and sable merles are all incorrect. Disqualification. Any nose color other than solid black, except in blue merles, and any color other than specified. These 2 dogs here are littermates. You would be familiar with them in Australian Shepherds. The one on the left would be the red tries in the Australian Shepherd, and the one on the right is what they would call a red merle. It's a dilute of the blacks. A dilute gene makes what was the black hair turn to this shade brown. Drop ears is a disqualification. Body color, predominantly white. And our little moving Corgi, unfortunately, would have to be DQ'd. How would you judge this dog here? Assuming what's on the other side is acceptable markings. This dog is fine, and you would have to evaluate him just as any other dog. The white markings on him is not over 50%. He's not predominantly white. The white surrounds the eye, so you would evaluate him as you would anybody. Pardon me? Color surrounds the eye. Did I say white? I'm sorry. Color surrounds the eye. Well, at least I'm at the right place tonight. More examples of the markings can be found in your illustrated standard. White flashings are usually found on the neck, the chest, legs, muzzle, underparts, tip of the tail, and as a blaze on the head. White on the head should not predominate, and should never surround the eyes. The one on the lower left would be fine. She has color around the whole eye. Sometimes you really have to look. How would you judge these heads in color? Obviously, the one on the lower right is fine. We have common in our breed white-tipped ears, and that is not an issue in our breed. In Pembroke's, it would be an issue. This bitch was incorrectly disqualified by an approved judge recently this year, and the AKC expunged the disqualification when the current JEC wrote on her behalf. She is not predominantly white. Her nose is black. We'll take a few minutes to discuss now the ring procedures and the specific breed examination. Judges should walk the ring to check for bait or tumbling hairballs prior to judging. This will distract the low to the ground breed dogs we have. You'll be glad you did when you want to evaluate their movement. Before judging, please be sure the table is secure and is not a toy-sized table. Adult Cardigans do not fit comfortably on a toy meant for the toy breeds. Do not have any Corgi, either a Cardigan or a Pembroke, stand on a toy-sized table. Have the superintendent change the table and replace it with a proper-sized table. Your exhibitors will be appreciated. Question later to the Cardigan people who that man is in the bell-bottom pants. Yes. Doris is behind over there on the left in the sweater. The class is lined up before you. Stand well back to evaluate the silhouettes before you. Your first impressions as you look at the class should be the silhouettes and should bring up some key questions. Does the silhouette reveal flowing curves? Do you see soft flowing lines from front end to the head to the body to the tail? What about the length to height ratio? Is there ample neck flowing into the level top line? Is there a prominent forechest and a slight downward slope of the croup, a moderate tuck up, and a waistline? The silhouette or correct outline defines Cardigan type even at a distance away. From one end of a football field, a Cardigan should be obvious with that unique outline. Remember the 3 L's of the breed: long, level, and a low top line. Allow the class to go around the ring before examination. This gives the dog, no matter what the breed, a chance to loosen up, get familiarized with the surroundings, and allows the dog to be aware of the job before him at this time. As you instruct the class to move, insist on a moderate speed for gating. Handlers should not be racing around the ring. Judges need to reward the correct moving Cardigan, not the fast moving Cardigan, because it looks impressive. We would like to stress those key points to check for a specific breed examination. Long and low. Level top line with a sturdy back and a deep chest, a definite waist, egg-shaped rib cage with moderate heavy bone, sloping croup, and a front end with a prominent prosternum. Wrap around front with the maximum 30-degree turnout and a 3 to 5 head proportion with large rounded ears, and graceful curves should be your final and first impression. Just as you observe the silhouette from a distance on the lineup, you need to observe at a distance the front end as well. Many dogs show you the correct outline from a side silhouette view, but when you come around to the front, you'll see a wide front lacking a prosternum and lacking that nice nesting egg in a cup look that we like and strive for. From the front view, you want to see a dog with large rounded ears. Note the eyes, the color, the shape, the nose color, the head shape, proportions, and so on. Do you see moderate bone, a deep chest, prominent prosternum? Are the upper arms supporting the chest with that wrap around front? And do you see a turnout that is maximum to 30 degrees? Check the feet, the shape of the feet, and look for the proper strong pasterns. Nope, it's on the way. Now you may approach the dog for the hands-on examination. Who's that lady? As you come to the front of the dog, acknowledge the dog and approach him and examine the bite. It is not necessary to count the teeth. Examine the head, the eyes, the ears, the planes, and so on, as we've discussed. Examine the fit of the jaw. Look for the chiseling in the cheeks. Examine the shape and proportions of the head, of muzzle to skull. Examine the leather and the shape of the ears. You will check for expression later, after you move the dog and have him on the ground in front of you. Feel down the front for a well-defined prosternum. Feel the bottom of the chest for that egg shape, not flat across. Examine the feet to ensure they are well padded, round in the shape, and very cushiony. Move down the neck to the shoulders to examine the layback and the length of the scapula of the upper arm. Check the fit and placement of the elbows. Do not look for expression on the or ears while the dog is on the table. It's called an exam table, not an expression table. Look for expression on the ground. Use the table to examine. Do not expect to see ears and a dog perhaps showing like a Pembroke. They're more laid back in attitude, as we can see with this one yawning. But if you get ears, it's a bonus. And they're not correct. Oh, we're losing our little... a little too much light maybe, guys? Yeah. We're coming around the bend. After going the head in the front view, turn to the side of the table and evaluate from this view. Feel the bottom of the chest for that egg shape. You do not want a flat crossed chest. Examine the feet. Move down the neck to the shoulders. Examine the layback and the length of the scapula and the upper arm. Check the elbows. Continue on the top line. Look for bone, the slope of the croup, the tail set, hindquarters, and feel the coat. Step back from the table again and take in the total picture. Cardigans are a great breed for the juniors, and we have had many skilled juniors go on to handling as adults and often bringing in another generation as well. This young lady here has also produced another generation for us in the ring. Showing an adult male for a junior or a small statured handler may be a bit difficult. Their weight is in the upper front end of the dog. If you've watched judging of Pekingese and you're familiar with the Pekingese breed, we always see them pick up the Pekingese. What they're doing is to check to see if the weight of the dog is towards the front of the body. That is what we're looking for. Not that you're picking the dog up, don't do that. But we want the weight of the dog is on the front end of the body, so the youngster may have a little difficulty getting that dog up on the table. This is primarily an owner-handled breed. Don't miss the dog in the ring because he may be poorly handled or not set up correctly. I know, he beat me that day and I'm never letting him forget it. Yes, you may. We want to close now with a few pictures of outstanding dogs of breed type. Judge the entire dog, the entire package. Remember the breed's priorities. Don't let one piece prevent you from putting up a better total package dog and a more sound dog. For instance, one foot may turn a tad. If it's the overall package is best, put him up. A gay tail, a bite with a dropped incisors, take it all into account. Small ears, but the dog may have a better front or a better outline. This is a lovely type A Cardigan. You see soft curves, a good head, neck, top line, curve of the croup, long and low, and a nice deep brisket. As guardians of the breed, breeders must strive to improve type and quality in the Cardigans being shown in the conformation ring today. Breeders must do the right thing. Learn as much as you can about the breed, learn the breed standard, visit with breed mentors, and resolve to make your decisions devoid of emotion and bias. Exhibitors over time eventually separate themselves by their actions, allowing judges and others to learn who is knowledgeable and who isn't, and who really cares and who really doesn't. These are all lovely outlines and type. Judges have the responsibility of evaluating our breeding stock in the show ring, rewarding those correct dogs chosen for the purpose of breeding and continuing to bring those breed a step further, and we will improve quality in the next generation. Judges must also do the right thing. They must learn as much as you can about the breed, learn the breed standard, visit with breed mentors, and resolve to make your decisions devoid of emotion and bias. Judges over time eventually separate themselves by learning their actions and allowing exhibitors to learn who is knowledgeable, who really isn't, and who really cares, and who really doesn't care about the breed. Just as these Cardigans are doing their homework to learn about the breed, we ask you to follow up with further education. Just watching Animal Planet on the segment, Breed All About It, the Cardigans. Check for the dates and locations of the Cardigan National website and the AKC website for upcoming nationals and regional specialties. Upcoming regionals are judged by breeder judges. We have the Delaware Valley Club in June, the Blue Bonnet Club in Texas, the Ohio Regional is in August, the California holds their regional in January, and we thank them for having us out here this time. We have a new regional club in the Midwest as well, the Three Trails Club, and they are holding their first regional specialty in Manhattan, Kansas in August. We also direct you to our national website, and on the Judges Ed page we have many articles written on the breed. I'm sorry? Oh, hot off the press, Chesapeake Club in the Virginia and Washington, D.C. area is having their first specialty as well, and we're quite happy about that. It's great. That's wonderful. We can remember going back where there weren't as many to go to. The JEC highly recommends the International Educational website, the CCI, where we obtain many of our drawings and pictures and animations. We're at the end of the tale, and we ask you judges, when you maintain and acquire the balance of the herding group, to please walk to the end of the line. I think you'll be quite surprised and pleased with what you see. Thank you for coming.
This is intended to be a full cycle examination, proper breed examination of a Cardigan Corgi. I usually start with the dog on the ground with a lineup of the class. We'll then take the dog around the ring and ask the handler to put the dog on the table. If you would, please. While watching the Cardigan from the side, it's important to note the reach and drive of the front and the rear, as well as the proper speed. It's improper for a Cardigan simply to be run quickly for the sake of covering ground. A Cardigan should cover ground with smooth, effortless movement. In order to properly evaluate a Cardigan, it's absolutely essential that you stand far back from the table in order to observe the proper silhouette. The silhouette has to be long, low to the ground, with a level top line. I like to walk around to the front and be able to approach a Cardigan from the front so that it knows that I'm coming at it. You really never want to get on top of the dog without it knowing that you're there. A proper head examination will show the 3 to 5 muzzle to back skull, and you'll look for the parallel planes. You'll look at the ears, of course make sure they're not flopped, as that's a disqualification. Step back, it's necessary to look at the front, and to see the front you have to step back enough to be able to see the brisket. As you approach, put your hand under the jaw and slide your hand down into the chest so that you can feel the prosternum fill your hand. My hand's a large hand. This large male fills it completely with a good drop pro sternum. After examining the head and the front, I'll normally walk around to the side and feel the shoulder layback and the depth of the chest from the side and how the shoulder is laid onto the body. It's important to feel the spring of rib that fills your hand completely and the level top line. The level top line is composed of, from the withers to the top of the loin, of a strong back and a loin with a short loin that is well covered with a good bend of stifle. The croup should be not too flat and should be slightly curved to give the overall impression of slight curves throughout the dog. So a thorough examination would check the shoulders, check the top line, feel the length of the loin, feel the croup and the tail set. Of course, with the male, check the testicles, and then to feel for the short hocks that will keep it balanced. The tail should be set low and should not be carried up over the back. After examining the dog on the table, I'll normally ask the handler to take it down onto the ground and down and back so that I can evaluate the front and the back movement. Down and back, please. In the down and back, we're looking for a good strong rear, pushing away with lots of reach underneath and drive from behind, and a front that properly wraps around the front end of the Cardigan's deep keel and well let down chest. On the ground, the best way to evaluate a Cardigan is from 6 to 10 feet away, where you can see the overall silhouette, and then get in close to evaluate the headpiece, the expression, the ear set, the eye set, the color of the nose, and the overall expression of the dog. And that basically is how to examine a Cardigan Corgi. Thank you. Thanks very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jackie.